The Dream Deferred. Introduction to Marcus Ellis. Marcus Ellis sat hunched over his canvas in the corner of his small, dimly lit studio. The room was cluttered with brushes, paint tubes, and unfinished sketches, a testament to his relentless pursuit of his craft. His current piece, titled Harmony in Chaos, was a vivid abstract of interwoven shapes and colors that told a story of resilience, struggle, and hope, a reflection of his life and the lives of those in his community. Growing up in a low-income neighborhood in Chicago, Marcus had always been drawn to art. It was his way of processing the harsh realities around him, the systemic neglect of his neighborhood, the struggles of his hard-working mother, and the unyielding spirit of his neighbors who found ways to thrive despite the odds. His mother, Gloria, was his biggest supporter. She often worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table, but she never failed to encourage Marcus to dream big. "You have a gift, Marcus," she'd often say, her voice full of conviction. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." From an early age, Marcus had a unique ability to see beauty in the seemingly mundane. He'd sketch the cracked sidewalks, graffiti-covered walls, and bustling street corners, capturing the rhythm and energy of his community. By the time he reached his teens, his art had evolved into a powerful blend of abstraction and storytelling, earning him praise from teachers and friends who recognized his talent. But while his community celebrated him, Marcus had his sights set on something bigger, breaking into the exclusive art world. He dreamed of seeing his work displayed in prestigious galleries, where it could inspire others and challenge perceptions. He believed that his art, rooted in themes of resilience and identity, deserved to be seen on the world stage. Facing rejection and racism. Marcus's journey into the professional art world was anything but easy. Determined to make a name for himself, he spent countless hours perfecting his portfolio. His pieces were bold and evocative, blending vibrant colors with intricate textures that told deeply personal stories. He submitted his work to gallery after gallery, each submission filled with hope that someone would see its value. But the responses, when they came at all, were disheartening. "Thank you for your submission, but we are unable to move forward at this time," one email read. "Your work is unique, but it does not align with our current vision," said another. The rejections piled up, each one a blow to Marcus's confidence. Worse than the rejections were the dismissive attitudes he encountered during in-person meetings with gallery representatives. At one meeting, a gallery owner barely glanced at his portfolio before saying, "Your work is a bit unconventional. Have you thought about trying local street fairs?" Marcus soon realized that the barriers he faced weren't just about his art, they were about who he was and where he came from. His pieces were often dismissed as too urban or not marketable, code words that veiled the systemic racism and elitism of the art world. Despite the setbacks, Marcus refused to give up. He poured his frustrations into his work, creating pieces that were even more daring and unapologetic. One painting, titled Fragmented Dreams, depicted shattered geometric shapes against a backdrop of deep blues and fiery reds, symbolizing the tension between hope and despair. It was a declaration that he would not be silenced. The encounter with Howard Livingston. Marcus's determination eventually led him to the Livingston Gallery, one of the most prestigious art spaces in the city. The gallery, owned by Howard Livingston, was known for its exclusivity and its focus on showcasing established artists. But every now and then, it held open calls for emerging talent, offering a sliver of hope to aspiring artists like Marcus. Marcus submitted his portfolio, and to his surprise, he received an invitation to present his work in person. He spent days preparing, selecting his most powerful pieces and rehearsing how he would explain the stories behind them. He knew this was a rare opportunity and wanted to make the most of it. On the day of the presentation, Marcus arrived at the gallery early, carrying his canvases with care. The space was immaculate, its pristine white walls adorned with large, expensive pieces that seemed to radiate wealth and exclusivity. As Marcus set up his display, he couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and anxiety. Howard Livingston entered the room with an air of authority, his polished suit and confident stride commanding attention. He was a tall man with salt-and-pepper hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to assess everything and everyone in an instant. He moved through the room, offering brief nods and comments to the other artists, before stopping at Marcus's corner. For a moment, Howard studied the paintings in silence. Marcus stood nearby, his heart pounding as he waited for a response. "These are interesting," Howard said finally, his tone neutral, but not encouraging. He gestured to one piece, Fragmented Dreams. "What's the story here?" Marcus took a deep breath and launched into his explanation. "This piece represents the tension between hope and despair," he said. "The fragmented shapes symbolize the barriers we face, but the vibrant colors represent the resilience and strength needed to overcome them." Howard raised an eyebrow, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. "Hope and resilience, huh? That's poetic." Marcus felt a flicker of unease, but pressed on. "I believe art should tell stories that resonate with people. It's about connection and shared humanity." Howard's smirk deepened, and his tone turned condescending. "Let me give you some advice, Mr. Ellis. Art that resonates with people doesn't sell. Collectors want sophistication, not sentimentality." The words hit Marcus like a slap. He opened his mouth to respond, but Howard continued, gesturing dismissively at the paintings. "This isn't art, it's decoration. Maybe try local markets. You might find your audience there." Laughter rippled through the room as some of the other artists and attendees overheard the exchange. Marcus felt his face flush with embarrassment, but he forced himself to remain composed. He gathered his canvases and left the gallery, his head held high despite the lump in his throat. That night, back in his studio, Marcus sat staring at Fragmented Dreams. The words decoration and unsellable echoed in his mind, but he refused to let them define him. Instead, he picked up a brush and began a new painting, channeling his humiliation and anger into a piece that would later be titled Resilience Rising. "This isn't the end," he muttered to himself as he worked. "This is just the beginning. The catalyst of change." A community art show. After his disheartening encounter at the Livingston Gallery, Marcus Ellis withdrew to his small studio, pouring his frustration and determination into his work. He knew the rejection wasn't about his art's worth, but about the prejudiced lens through which the art world often viewed creators like him. Determined to keep moving forward, Marcus began seeking alternative ways to showcase his art, ways that didn't rely on approval from gatekeepers like Howard Livingston. One day, Marcus stumbled upon a flyer pinned to the bulletin board of a local coffee shop. It was for a community art show, hosted by a grassroots organization dedicated to uplifting underrepresented artists. The event, set to take place in an old warehouse turned community space, promised an opportunity to connect with locals and fellow creatives. Though it wasn't the prestigious gallery exposure Marcus had dreamed of, it felt like a space where his work might truly be appreciated. In the day of the show, Marcus arrived early, carrying his canvases carefully wrapped in cloth. The warehouse buzzed with activity as artists set up their displays, chatting with one another and exchanging words of encouragement. The walls were adorned with an eclectic mix of styles and mediums, from abstract paintings to photography and sculptures. Despite the informal setting, the atmosphere brimmed with creativity and camaraderie. Marcus chose a corner near the entrance, arranging his pieces thoughtfully on the temporary wooden panels provided by the organizers. His centerpiece was Resilience Rising, a bold, fiery abstract that he had painted in the wake of his humiliation at the Livingston Gallery. Surrounding it were smaller pieces that explored themes of community, struggle, and hope. Each painting told a story, reflecting Marcus's experiences and the resilience of those around him. As the doors opened and attendees began to trickle in, Marcus stood by his display, watching nervously as people browsed the artwork. Some paused to admire his pieces, nodding thoughtfully or offering a quiet beautiful as they moved on. Though the crowd was modest compared to the polished galleries downtown, the energy felt authentic, and Marcus found solace in the genuine interest people showed in his work. Meeting Emily Carter. As the evening progressed, a woman entered the warehouse who immediately stood out. Dressed in an elegant coat and carrying herself with quiet confidence, she moved through the space with a discerning eye, pausing occasionally to study a piece more closely. Her presence exuded a mix of sophistication and approachability, drawing the attention of artists and attendees alike. When she reached Marcus's corner, she stopped abruptly, her eyes locking onto Resilience Rising. She stepped closer, tilting her head slightly as she examined the intricate layers of color and texture. "This is extraordinary," she said softly, almost to herself. Marcus, who had been standing nearby, approached her cautiously. "Thank you," he said, his voice tinged with nervousness. "It's one of my more personal pieces." The woman turned to him, her sharp blue eyes meeting his. "It's powerful," she said. "It feels like it's alive, like it's telling a story." Marcus felt a flicker of hope. "That's what I aim for in my work," he said. "To tell stories that connect with people." The woman smiled warmly and extended her hand. "Emily Carter," she said. "I collect art, and I think I've just found something remarkable." Marcus froze for a moment, recognizing the name. Emily Carter was a renowned art collector and philanthropist known for her impeccable taste and her commitment to discovering emerging talent. Her collection was legendary, and her endorsement had launched the careers of several now famous artists. As Marcus shook her hand, Emily continued to study his display. She asked about the stories behind each piece, listening intently as Marcus explained the inspiration behind his work. Her questions were thoughtful, her interest genuine. "I'd like to purchase these 3, she said, pointing to Resilience Rising, Echoes of Hope, and Fragmented Dreams. "And I'd love to introduce your work to some people who can help you get the recognition you deserve." Marcus was stunned. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely," Emily replied. "Your work has a voice, and the world needs to hear it." They finalized the purchase, and Emily handed Marcus her card. "Expect to hear from me soon," she said with a smile before disappearing into the crowd. The power of social media. True to her word, Emily didn't just purchase Marcus's art, she became its champion. The day after the community art show, she posted photos of his paintings on her Instagram account, which boasted over 2 million followers, many of whom were influential figures in the art world. Her caption was simple yet powerful. "Discovered an extraordinary artist, Marcus Ellis, at a local community show. His work is raw, emotional, and breathtaking. This is the kind of art that speaks to the soul. #MarcusEllisArt, #ArtThatMatters." The post went viral almost immediately. Within hours, it had garnered tens of thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. Art enthusiasts, collectors, and critics praised Marcus's work, sharing their own interpretations of the pieces Emily had featured. The vibrant colors and powerful narratives in his paintings struck a chord with viewers, many of whom felt a deep connection to the themes of resilience and hope. "Who is this artist?" one commenter wrote. "His work is incredible. I need to own one of these pieces," another added. Marcus's phone buzzed constantly with notifications. Collectors reached out to inquire about purchasing his work, journalists requested interviews, and gallery representatives expressed interest in showcasing his art. For the first time, Marcus felt seen, not just as an artist, but as a storyteller with something meaningful to share. Emily's post also caught the attention of prominent figures in the art world, including several critics who began writing about Marcus's work. One article in Artscene magazine described his pieces as a breathtaking fusion of abstraction and narrative that challenges perceptions and evokes profound emotion. Overwhelmed by the sudden attention, Marcus turned to Emily for guidance. She introduced him to her network of collectors, curators, and artists, opening doors he had once thought permanently closed. Through her connections, Marcus began receiving invitations to exhibit at prestigious art fairs and galleries, including the upcoming Chicago International Art Fair. The viral success of his work also had a ripple effect in his community. Local artists who had long struggled to gain recognition found new hope in Marcus's story. He became a source of inspiration, proof that talent and perseverance could overcome even the most entrenched barriers. A turning point. As Marcus reflected on the whirlwind of events, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. The rejection he had faced at the Livingston Gallery now felt like a distant memory, a stepping stone on the path to something greater. His encounter with Emily Carter had not only changed his career but also reaffirmed his belief in the power of art to connect people and tell stories that mattered. Sitting in his studio one evening, Marcus began a new painting. The canvas was large, and he worked with bold, sweeping strokes, channeling the energy and emotion of the past few weeks into a piece that he titled Catalyst. It was a celebration of change, of the moment when one door closes and another opens. For Marcus, the journey was just beginning. But for the first time, he felt confident that he was on the right path, and that his art would continue to resonate with people far beyond the walls of any gallery. The road to success. Breaking into the mainstream. The momentum behind Marcus Ellis's rise was palpable. Thanks to Emily Carter's introduction to key figures in the art world and the viral exposure of his work, Marcus began receiving invitations to showcase at high-profile art fairs and exhibitions. Each invitation felt like a vindication of his talent, a reminder that his vision and perseverance were finally being recognized. One of the first invitations came from the Chicago International Art Fair, an event Marcus had dreamed of attending for years. When the official email arrived, Marcus read it twice to make sure he wasn't imagining things. Dear Mr. Ellis, your work has captured the attention of our curators, and we are thrilled to invite you to participate in the Emerging Voices Pavilion at the Chicago International Art Fair. Your art represents the transformative power of storytelling, and we believe it will resonate with our audience. Marcus's heart raced as he read the words. The Chicago International Art Fair was one of the most prestigious events in the country, attracting collectors, critics, and curators from around the globe. To be invited was an honor reserved for the most promising talent, and Marcus was determined to make the most of it. Over the next few weeks, Marcus worked tirelessly to prepare for the event. He poured himself into creating new pieces, each one a bold exploration of the themes that had come to define his work: resilience, identity, and transformation. One standout piece, Rebirth in Motion, featured swirling lines and vibrant colors that seemed to leap off the canvas, symbolizing his journey from rejection to recognition. When the day of the fair arrived, Marcus was both nervous and exhilarated. His booth was modest compared to some of the larger, more established galleries, but it quickly became a focal point. Visitors were drawn to the raw emotion and storytelling in his work, lingering to ask questions and share their interpretations. Critics took notice. By the end of the fair's first day, Marcus's name was being whispered in conversations among art world insiders. Articles began to appear online, praising his ability to blend bold abstraction with deeply personal narratives. One review in Art Daily described his work as a masterful fusion of color and emotion, inviting viewers to confront their own experiences of struggle and triumph. Collectors, too, were captivated. Several pieces sold within hours, and Marcus received inquiries about commissions and future exhibitions. For the first time, he felt the validation he had long craved, not from a place of arrogance, but from the understanding that his work had found its audience. Building a professional team. As Marcus's reputation grew, so did the demands on his time and energy. He quickly realized that navigating the art world's complexities, contracts, negotiations, logistics, required expertise he didn't yet have. Emily Carter, ever supportive, introduced him to Robert Hayes, a seasoned art agent known for his ethical approach and commitment to his clients' visions. Robert was in his late 40s, with a sharp mind and a warm demeanor that immediately put Marcus at ease. Their first meeting took place at a bustling cafe, where Robert spent an hour listening to Marcus talk about his journey, his art, and his goals for the future. "You have something extraordinary here, Marcus," Robert said, leaning forward. "But talent alone isn't enough. The art world can be tricky. My job is to make sure you're protected and that your voice remains front and center." Marcus hesitated. He had always been wary of the art world's power dynamics, afraid of losing control over his work. But Robert's approach was different. He emphasized transparency and collaboration, promising to advocate for Marcus at every turn. "Let me handle the business side of things," Robert said. "You focus on creating." The partnership proved to be a turning point. With Robert managing the logistics, Marcus was free to concentrate on his art. Robert secured lucrative deals with galleries that aligned with Marcus's values, ensuring that each opportunity reflected his commitment to authenticity and inclusivity. He also negotiated fair contracts, ensuring that Marcus retained creative control and received appropriate compensation for his work. One of Robert's first major successes was securing a solo exhibition for Marcus at the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York. The exhibit, titled Threads of Resilience, featured a collection of Marcus's most powerful pieces and attracted widespread acclaim. Critics hailed it as a tour de force, and visitors flocked to see the work of the artist who had taken the art world by storm. Rejecting Howard's offer. As Marcus's star continued to rise, word of his success inevitably reached Howard Livingston. The once powerful gallery owner, whose reputation had been tarnished by his outdated practices and dismissive attitude, now found himself scrambling to stay relevant. When he learned of Marcus's achievements, Howard saw an opportunity, not to make amends, but to capitalize on Marcus's newfound fame. Marcus was stunned when he received an email from Livingston Gallery. The message, written in Howard's typically polished tone, was both congratulatory and opportunistic. Dear Mr. Ellis, it has come to my attention that your work has garnered significant acclaim, and I must say, I am deeply impressed. The Livingston Gallery would be honored to host a solo exhibition featuring your extraordinary pieces. Please let us know how we can collaborate to bring your vision to our esteemed audience. The irony of the situation was not lost on Marcus. This was the same man who had once dismissed his work as unsellable and suggested he try local street fairs. Now, Howard was offering him the very platform he had once denied. Marcus forwarded the email to Robert with a simple question, "Thoughts?" Robert's reply was swift, "You don't need him, Marcus. Your success speaks for itself. Let your silence be your answer." Though tempted to respond with a sharp rebuke, Marcus ultimately chose not to engage. He declined the offer through Robert, opting instead to support galleries that prioritized inclusivity and diversity. The decision felt empowering, a clear declaration that he was no longer at the mercy of people like Howard Livingston. Instead of dwelling on the past, Marcus focused on using his platform to uplift others. He began mentoring young artists, sharing his experiences, and offering guidance to help them navigate the challenges of the art world. Through these efforts, Marcus ensured that his success wasn't just personal, it was part of a larger movement toward equity and representation. A defining moment. One of the most satisfying moments of Marcus's journey came when he was invited to speak at a conference on diversity in the arts. Standing before an audience of artists, curators, and collectors, Marcus shared his story, the rejection, the perseverance, and the triumphs that had shaped his path. Art is not just about aesthetics, he said, his voice resonant and steady. It's about truth. It's about telling stories that matter, that connect us, that challenge us to see the world differently. My journey hasn't been easy, but it's taught me one thing: resilience is the most powerful tool an artist can have. The audience erupted in applause, their admiration evident. For Marcus, the moment was about more than personal recognition, it was about inspiring others to keep pushing forward, no matter the obstacles. As he left the stage, Marcus felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His art had finally found its place in the world, and he was determined to ensure that others would have the opportunity to do the same. Turning the tables. Discovering an opportunity. As Marcus Ellis's career soared, whispers about the decline of the Livingston Gallery began to reach him. Once a symbol of exclusivity and prestige, the gallery had fallen out of favor, its reputation tarnished by Howard Livingston's outdated practices and inability to adapt to a changing art world. Collectors were moving toward spaces that celebrated diversity and innovation, leaving the Livingston Gallery to languish in irrelevance. Marcus learned of the gallery's struggles during a conversation with his agent, Robert Hayes. Over a late afternoon coffee meeting, Robert slid a folder across the table. "Thought you'd find this interesting," Robert said, a sly smile playing on his lips. Marcus opened the folder to find financial records, reports, and news clippings detailing the gallery's precarious situation. Revenue was down, client retention was abysmal, and critics had labeled the gallery a relic of the past. Even Howard's once loyal clientele had moved on, leaving him scrambling to stay afloat. "It's up for sale," Robert continued. "Howard's desperate. He's letting it go for a fraction of what it used to be worth." Marcus leaned back in his chair, processing the information. The thought of owning the very gallery that had once dismissed him was both poetic and surreal. Yet, Marcus wasn't motivated by revenge. He saw the gallery as an opportunity, a chance to create something new, something transformative. "What do you think?" Robert asked, watching Marcus closely. "I think it's time to turn the tables," Marcus said, a determined glint in his eyes. "But I don't want Howard to know it's me. Let's do this through a proxy." Robert nodded. "Bold move, but I like it. Let's make it happen." The secret acquisition. The process of acquiring the Livingston Gallery was both strategic and discreet. Robert enlisted the help of a trusted intermediary to handle the negotiations, ensuring that Marcus's identity remained hidden. Howard, eager to offload the failing gallery, was quick to accept the terms. To him, it was just another transaction, a way to cut his losses and walk away from a sinking ship. When the deal closed, Marcus stood in the empty gallery for the first time as its owner. The space felt hollow, its cold white walls and minimalist decor a stark reminder of the exclusivity and elitism it once represented. But to Marcus, it was a blank canvas, a place brimming with potential. "This is where it all changes," Marcus said to Robert, who stood beside him. "We're going to make this space mean something." Rebranding the gallery. Marcus wasted no time in transforming the gallery. He enlisted a team of architects and designers to overhaul the space, infusing it with warmth, color, and life. Gone were the sterile walls and uninviting atmosphere. In their place came vibrant hues, interactive installations, and open, welcoming layouts that encouraged connection and conversation. The gallery was renamed Ellis Contemporary, a bold declaration of its new purpose and identity. Marcus wanted the name to reflect not just his journey but the stories of countless others who had been overlooked or dismissed by the traditional art world. The mission of Ellis Contemporary was clear: to uplift underrepresented voices and foster inclusivity in the arts. The gallery would showcase the work of diverse artists, providing a platform for those who had been denied opportunities elsewhere. It would also host workshops, artist residencies, and mentorship programs, ensuring that its impact extended beyond its walls. The inaugural exhibit, titled Breaking Boundaries, was a celebration of resilience and creativity. It featured a mix of Marcus's own work and pieces by emerging artists from marginalized backgrounds. Each artwork told a powerful story, challenging viewers to confront their own perceptions and biases. Marcus personally curated the exhibit, spending hours selecting pieces that aligned with the gallery's mission. One standout piece, Voices in Color, was a collaborative mural created by a group of young artists from Marcus's mentorship program. The mural spanned an entire wall, its vibrant imagery and intricate details drawing viewers into a tapestry of shared experiences. As word of the gallery's transformation spread, excitement grew. Critics who had once dismissed the Livingston Gallery now praised Ellis Contemporary as a groundbreaking addition to the art world. Collectors, curators, and art enthusiasts eagerly awaited the grand reopening, curious to see how Marcus had reimagined the space. A new vision. The grand reopening of Ellis Contemporary was a night to remember. The gallery buzzed with energy as guests from all walks of life, artists, collectors, critics, and community members, filled the space. The atmosphere was electric, a testament to the anticipation and enthusiasm surrounding the event. Marcus, dressed in a sleek black suit, stood near the entrance, greeting guests with a mix of pride and humility. For him, the evening wasn't just about celebrating the gallery's transformation, it was about creating a space where everyone felt seen and valued. As the night unfolded, guests marveled at the artwork on display. The walls seemed to come alive with color and emotion, each piece inviting viewers to engage with the stories it told. The gallery's new layout encouraged exploration, with interactive installations and communal seating areas that fostered dialogue and connection. One particularly moving moment came when a young girl, no older than 12, approached Marcus with wide eyes and a shy smile. "Your art makes me feel like I can do anything," she said, clutching a sketchbook to her chest. Marcus knelt to her level, his heart swelling with gratitude. "You can," he said. "And one day, your work will be on these walls." A quiet victory. Unbeknownst to most of the guests, Howard Livingston had received an invitation to the reopening. Intrigued by the buzz surrounding the gallery's transformation, he decided to attend, unaware of Marcus's involvement. A quiet victory. Unbeknownst to most of the guests, Howard Livingston had received an invitation to the reopening. Intrigued by the buzz surrounding the gallery's transformation, he decided to attend, unaware of Marcus's involvement. As Howard entered the space, he was struck by how unrecognizable it was. The cold, lifeless gallery he had once presided over had been replaced by a vibrant, inclusive haven for creativity. As he wandered through the exhibits, he began to piece together the truth. When Howard finally spotted Marcus, the two men locked eyes. Marcus's expression was calm, almost serene, while Howard's face registered a mix of shock and disbelief. The gallery he had once dismissed Marcus from was now thriving under Marcus's ownership. For Marcus, the moment wasn't about revenge, it was about redemption. He had taken what had once been a symbol of exclusion and turned it into a beacon of hope and possibility. And in doing so, he had proven that resilience, vision, and authenticity could triumph over even the most entrenched barriers. The grand reopening. A night to remember. The night of Ellis Contemporary's grand reopening was electric. From the moment the gallery doors opened, a steady stream of guests flowed into the space, their excitement palpable. The air buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the clinking of glasses as the city's art scene gathered to witness the transformation of what had once been the Livingston Gallery. The newly rebranded Ellis Contemporary was unrecognizable. Warm lighting illuminated the vibrant, textured walls, which showcased an eclectic mix of art that ranged from bold abstractions to thought-provoking installations. The layout encouraged exploration, with cozy seating areas where guests could pause to reflect and discuss the works on display. The gallery felt alive, welcoming everyone who stepped inside. The centerpiece of the evening was the exhibit Breaking Boundaries, a carefully curated collection of works by emerging artists from underrepresented backgrounds. Each piece told a powerful story of resilience, struggle, and triumph, themes that resonated deeply with Marcus's own journey. Marcus's own work was prominently featured, including Rebirth in Motion, a stunning abstract piece that captured the essence of transformation. The crowd was a mix of art critics, collectors, fellow artists, and community members, all eager to celebrate the gallery's new chapter. Among them were young artists Marcus had mentored, their faces alight with inspiration as they saw their own works displayed alongside those of established talents. The energy in the room was infectious, a testament to the gallery's new mission. As Marcus moved through the crowd, he was greeted with warm congratulations and heartfelt words of admiration. Dressed in a tailored black suit, he exuded confidence and grace, though his mind was focused not on his own success, but on the impact the gallery was already making. "This is what art should feel like," one guest said, shaking Marcus's hand. "Thank you for creating this space." For Marcus, the night was more than a celebration. It was a moment of vindication, a testament to the power of resilience, vision, and authenticity. Howard's humiliation. Unbeknownst to Marcus, Howard Livingston had received an invitation to the reopening. The sleek, embossed card had piqued Howard's curiosity, and he decided to attend, though he had no idea what to expect. As far as Howard was concerned, the gallery he had sold was just another failed chapter in his career. He had no inkling of the dramatic transformation it had undergone, or who was behind it. When Howard arrived at Ellis Contemporary, he was immediately struck by how different the space felt. Gone were the sterile white walls and cold, minimalist decor he had once prided himself on. Instead, the gallery was warm, vibrant, and alive with energy. The art on the walls was unlike anything he had ever displayed, raw, emotional, and deeply moving. Howard wandered through the exhibits, his brow furrowing as he took in the works on display. He recognized some of the pieces as Marcus's, though he didn't immediately connect the dots. It wasn't until he overheard snippets of conversation that the truth began to dawn on him. "Marcus Ellis has done something incredible here," one guest said. "This gallery is a game-changer. I can't believe he turned the Livingston Gallery into this," another added. "Talk about poetic justice." Howard's face turned pale as realization hit him. This was Marcus's gallery. The same artist he had once dismissed and humiliated had now reclaimed the very space he had ruled over with arrogance and prejudice. As Howard moved through the crowd, trying to remain inconspicuous, he spotted Marcus standing near the center of the room, speaking with a group of guests. Their eyes met briefly, and Howard froze. Marcus's expression was calm, almost serene, while Howard's face betrayed a mix of shock, embarrassment, and regret. The weight of the moment was undeniable. Howard, who had once mocked Marcus's work as unsellable, now found himself standing in a gallery that celebrated that very work, and the transformative vision behind it. A powerful speech. As the evening reached its peak, Marcus stepped onto a small stage in the center of the gallery. A microphone had been set up for him, and the crowd quickly quieted as he prepared to speak. All eyes turned to him, their anticipation palpable. Marcus took a deep breath, his gaze sweeping over the room. The faces before him were a mix of old friends, new supporters, and those who had doubted him, all gathered to witness the culmination of his journey. "Good evening," he began, his voice steady and clear. "Thank you all for being here tonight. This moment, this space, means more to me than I can put into words." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "A few years ago, I stood in this very gallery, feeling small and invisible. I was told that my work wasn't good enough, that my stories didn't matter. But tonight, I stand before you not as someone seeking validation, but as someone who believes in the power of transformation." The crowd erupted into applause, but Marcus raised a hand, signaling for quiet. "This gallery isn't just about me. It's about every artist who has ever been told they don't belong. It's about creating a space where all voices are heard, where all stories are celebrated. Because art is not about exclusion, it's about connection." His voice grew stronger as he spoke. "Art has the power to heal, to inspire, and to change the world. And that's what Ellis Contemporary is about. It's not just a gallery, it's a movement. A movement to break down barriers, to challenge perceptions, and to create a world where everyone's voice matters." As Marcus finished, the room erupted into a standing ovation. Tears streamed down the faces of some attendees, moved by the sincerity and passion of his words. For Marcus, the moment was not about personal vindication, it was about the collective power of resilience and the potential for change. From the back of the room, Howard Livingston watched the scene unfold, his face a mix of regret and admiration. For the first time, he truly understood the depth of what he had failed to see in Marcus, and the transformative impact of his vision. A night to remember. The reopening of Ellis Contemporary was not just a celebration, it was a turning point. The gallery's transformation symbolized more than Marcus's personal journey, it represented a shift in the art world, a movement toward inclusivity, diversity, and authenticity. As the night drew to a close, Marcus stood near the entrance, watching as guests lingered, reluctant to leave. The energy in the room was a testament to the gallery's new mission, and Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. For the first time in his life, Marcus felt a profound sense of fulfillment, not just for what he had achieved, but for what he had created, a space where art could truly make a difference.